What's up YouTube? Pictures by Schoolboy here, and welcome back to another Photoshop tutorial. As you can see, I have a very beautiful image right here, and that is what we are going to be retouching today. This is a work I did for an amazing makeup artist last week, and today I'm taking you guys along on how I retouch this image. Sorry. If you want to see the final results of this image, please check out my Instagram at Pictures by Schoolboy. I've posted a couple of pictures there, and you are going to see not only this one but some other ones as well, and you are going to see how it finally turned out. YouTube might not, do the justice to the image as Instagram would, so I feel like Instagram is where you are going to see the pictures really well. All right. So as we all know, this is a beauty image, and there are quite some little difficulties when it comes to retouching a beauty image, but today I'm going to take you guys along step to step on how I'm going to retouch this image, and I'm also going to give you guys some tips as well. Alright, so the first thing that we are going to do is to perform our frequency separation or dodge and burn or whatever that you feel like helps you to retouch the skin better. So in my case, I'm going to perform frequency separation. So I'm going to name the group FS. I'm going to be real quick with this one since we all know what frequency separation is. And the first tip that I'm going to give you guys is use a very high radius for the blur if you want to get more skin texture in the skin. So if you want to perform the frequency separation, smoothing out the skin but then retain your skin textures, make sure you use a very high radius. A radius like 14 is okay for this image. You can go higher, but if you want the skin to be very smooth and have minimal texture on the skin, you have to use a lower radius. So I'm going to use radius 14 for this image, and I'm going to click OK. Alright, so it's done, and then I'm going to move ahead and continue with the rest of the frequency separation. Subtract, and I think that's it. I've been sick for quite some days now, but I'm trying my best to bring out videos for you guys. Alright, so the frequency separation is done right now, so we are going to go ahead and start retouching the skin. So the first thing I'm going to do is to select my lasso tool, and then I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more, and I'm going to start with the cheeks. As we all know, this is how I always do my frequency separation. So I'm going to start with the cheeks. I'm going to try as much as possible not to get closer to edges like this, like here and here, with how I'm going to select these circles and things. Sometimes when you get too close, it leaves a black or white line around the edges, and that is something that I'm trying as much as possible to prevent. So I'm going to also use a very high blur radius once again to get much more skin textures in the skin as possible. So I'm going to use 40 or 50, and I think that is going to be absolutely fine. So I think 45 is going to be fine, and I'll select OK. So here is a quick before and after, and as you can see, it has smoothing out the skin though, but we still have our textures in the skin and even some blemishes on the skin. So let's go ahead and continue with the rest of the skin. And as you can see, it's working very nice, very neat and very settled on the skin. And I think I'm going to use the same radius throughout the image. Maybe I'm going to switch it up just a little bit around these areas, but then when we get there I will know what to do. So let's move here. And let's do just this area. You don't always have to apply the blur at each and every area of the image. As you can see right now, I've performed the frequency separation minimal and it looks amazing. So here's a quick before and after. As you can see, it looks nice. So we are going to go ahead and perform it, blur out this part of the face and the nose, but we are going to go ahead and change the radius of our blur once again, since I don't want the frequency separation to be too much on the eyes and on the nose. So I always bring down my radius for these particular areas. So I think I'm going to go 20 for these particular areas. So here is a before and after, and as you can see, the 20 is very minimal for these areas of the skin. So I always bring down the blur radius for these areas, eyes and her nose. I think it looks natural that way. It will be very difficult to tell if frequency separation has been performed or not. All right, so here is a before and after. As you can see, we are getting there, and it looks fine. So I'll go ahead and continue at this area. I don't think there is much to do here, so I'm just going to make a quick selection right here and choose a different blur radius for this area, and we'll move on. So I think I'm going to go a little bit higher, like 50, and yeah, I think 50 looks perfect. Alright, my PC is running a little bit slow today. I haven't turned it off in like 4 or 5 days, and I forgot to restart it before I start filming this tutorial, but then I've already started, so we have to move on. Alright, so as you can see, it's looking stunning at this moment. It looks perfectly fine. Alright, so the next thing that we are going to do is to select the top layer, which contains the skin texture. So let me name this skin texture. Alright, oh shoot, and let me name this skin color. Alright, so we are going to go ahead and remove these little blemishes on the skin with this tool, the clone stamp tool, and right after it we are going to go ahead and color grade it. I don't think there is much to do with the color grading. She has amazing skin tones. As you can see, her skin tones is on point for me, and I don't think there is much to do with the color grading. So let's go ahead and remove these little blemishes on the skin and move on to the color grading. My PC is running very slow, very slow. I don't know why, but it shouldn't be running this slow. There are no apps in the background or anything, but I just hope it's not making this video so boring. Alright, so as we all know, we are going to sample an area. You hold Alt, you sample an area, and then you clone. So let me sample this area and then I'll clone, just like that, and the blemish is gone. So we are going to do this throughout the entire skin. Going to go around the entire skin and see if there are more blemishes. We are going to remove them all and make the skin look very nice and smooth as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and remove all the blemishes on the skin, and I'm going to skip this part. I'm going to fast forward this part, so I'll catch you guys when I'm done removing all these blemishes. Alright guys, so I think I'm done removing all the blemishes from the skin, and it looks amazing. So here is a quick before and after. As you can see, we still have our skin textures, and the skin tones also looks amazing. And I think we are not going to do much with the color grading because I just don't want to mess the skin tones up. Alright, so we are going to go ahead and merge these two layers, and we are going to go ahead and start with the color grade. Alright, so let me merge this real quick and continue with it. I hope you guys are enjoying this video. This is my second beauty retouching image on this channel. I think so. Yeah, I think so. The first one was a raw file I downloaded from Instagram, Alexander Croft Raw. The first one was a raw file from another photographer, so it wasn't actually a raw file from me, but this one was actually shot by myself, and I'm doing a retouching video. Alright, so the image is done. The frequency separation is done merging. Alright, so we are going to go ahead and color grade this image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to color grade this image with the gradient map, because I want the color grade to suit the skin tones as possible, and I don't know any other way than to do it than gradient map. Gradient map works best if you want to get amazing and perfect skin tones. So I just want to enhance the skin tones a little bit more, so I'm going to go ahead and perform a gradient map color grading style on this, and then we are going to tweak it a little bit with a little bit of selective color, hue and saturation, and maybe color balance. Alright, so let's turn it off and start picking our colors. So with this part, the shadow parts of the image, I think I'm going to go with this area just below the chin. The reason why there's a little bit of shadows there is I forgot to take my reflector along when I was packing for this photo shoot. I forgot to take my reflector along, so when I got there I realized I had to bring my reflector, but then it was too late, so I had to shoot it just like this. If I have had a reflector, I think it would have turned out amazing than this, but I'm still okay with the result that I got, even though I didn't get a reflector to fill up the shadows beneath her chin and some part of her face. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and select. I think the lip is fine. I think there are more highlights on the lips, but because there are pinks also, it tends to bring out the pinks on her lips. But I think I'm going to select that, and I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to create the midtones. And with the midtones, I think I'm just going to do this part of the image. Yeah, so as you can see, the transition between the shadows to the highlights, it looks natural, it looks nice. So we are going to turn it on, and this is how it looks. And I'm going to change the blend mode from normal to soft light, and then bring down the opacity to 40%. So this is how it looks. Here is a quick before and after. As you can see, it enhances the skin tones very, very well. So here is before and after. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to selective color, and then I'm going to add just a little bit of blues to the white. There are a lot of whites in this image, so I think it would be nice to add just a little bit of blue. So I'm going to go to the white, and I'm going to bring up my cyan just like this. and then I'm going to bring down my yellows just like this to make it more bluish. Yeah, so here is a before and after. Before and after, as you can see, it removed this kind of red tint at the background from it, and it makes the skin pops out more. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to go to my hue and saturation. This is something I always do. I come to the hue and saturation, I go to the red since the skin contains reds, and I just bring up the saturation just a little bit, and then I bring up the hue to add just a little bit of yellows into the skin tone. So here is a quick before. Here's a quick before and after of what we just did. It's nothing too much, but it really makes an impact on the skin tones. As you can see, it looks so reddish right now. It has a little bit of yellow in it right now, but if I turn it off, look, it's so red. Before, after, before, after. It looks amazing. So the last thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to balance the colors with color balance. That is how I always conclude my color grade. I always try as much as possible to balance the colors, just to give it a little bit of colors with color balance. So I always start with the shadows, and as you can see, the reds, I think the reds looks fine. So I do too much so that I can always come to the opacity and bring it down to my satisfaction. So I think I'm going to leave it on 15, and then I'm going to come to the blues as well, and I'm going to add just a little bit of yellows. I think -2 is fine, and then I'll move on to the highlights. With the highlights too, I'll play with these sliders just a little bit. I think a little bit of cyan is fine, so I'm going to add -10 of cyan, and then I always don't play with the magentas and green. I don't find it very nice to play with it. It's, as you can see, it doesn't really add any nice colors to the image, so I always don't even click on the slider. I always do cyans and reds, yellows and blue throughout. All right, so I think I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of blue, so +6 is fine, and then I'll move on to my midtones and finalize everything. So I think I'm going to add more reds like so, and then let's see, a little bit of yellows like so. So here's a before and after. Before, after, as you can see, it enhances it so well. So what I'm going to do now is to bring down the opacity. Since it's a little bit too much, I'm going to bring down the opacity to, let's say, 40%. So here's the before and after. As you can see, it's very settled right now. So I'm going to put all this in a group, and I'm going to call it color grade. So here is a before and after. Before and after. I don't think it's too much. I think it looks absolutely fine. It looks amazing in my opinion. Before and after. Before and after. Alright, so I think that will be the end of today's video. I'm really excited about how this turned out. I hope you learned something from this video. Please give this video a thumbs up, and also subscribe to the channel if you are new, and if you are a returning subscriber, I say a very big thank you. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace out.